Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Henna. I'm a self-improvement coach, trauma coach, and content creator. Today we're going to be talking about why your relationship with Allah sucks. And it's not what you think. This is not a video about shaming you and wagging my finger at you or waving my finger at you. This is about giving you a different perspective of how to approach your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I ran a closed halaqah for about 2 years, and the girls that were in the halaqah were, community organizers. They were in college, undergrad, and it was closed in the sense of they were there every single week and nobody was allowed to be added, and you could always leave, but it was a dedicated group. It was a dedicated gathering that was happening every single week where we would go through specific content and learn together. It was always beautiful seeing how each of these girls approach their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is kind of what's inspiring this video here, because when I would see kind of the way that they would talk about Allah and they would talk about their relationship with Him, there was something very beautiful. I want to share a story as well that I have from undergrad. So when I was in undergrad, when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I did my bachelor's degree in nutrition, if anyone cares, before practicing before studying medicine, alhamdulillah. I had an acquaintance who I bumped into at the library. So I sat at the table with her, and she just told me this random story that, she was venting to her dad, and her dad is an imam of a masjid. And she was just telling him she was really frustrated and stressed out with school, and there was a lot to study, and she was just having a lot to do. And her dad, in an attempt to get her to just stop complaining and leave him alone, said, go talk to Allah. Don't go talk to Allah. And she stopped and she's like, so you know what I did, Hannah? I went and I talked to Allah. And I remember I just kind of smiled and laughed, but that story has stuck with me. It's been 8 years since hearing that. And this is the point of the video. Why don't we treat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like a friend? So let's talk a little bit about, this is an unedited video, by the way, guys, if you can't tell already. Let's talk about the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Let's talk about the Prophet story. There's something very important that you need to know about the Prophet ﷺ, which is, yes, he was a messenger, but there is this beautiful, loving, and caring relationship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very obviously demonstrates in the Quran. The way Allah talks about the Prophet is so caring and so tender and so protective, and the way the Prophet ﷺ spoke about Allah is he called Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his friend, his protector, right? When he was dying, he was given the choice to stay on earth or to go be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he chose to go be with Allah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talks about Ibrahim alayhi salam as his what is it, the name for it? His Khalil, his close friend. So if anyone ever tells you, no, you shouldn't treat Allah in that way because the relationship is supposed to be formal and you lose respect, that's not true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a closeness with certain human beings, and he speaks about it in the Quran. And those, that we hear about are prophets, but the prophets are those that we're supposed to emulate. So when we think about our relationship with Allah, a good example is dua. When we're making dua, how do we make dua? Do we come to dua very formal, very trying, if our dua isn't extremely poetic, if it doesn't have just the right words, if it doesn't sound extremely formal, if it doesn't sound like you're reading off a letter, do you just not make dua? What if we came to dua with a different perspective? What if we came to dua like we were venting to a friend, to someone, to not just a friend, but like your close friend, your best friend, right? And it didn't have to be formal, and you're just pouring out your heart and you're asking of what you need, and you're not afraid of judgment or fear. You're not afraid to be vulnerable. You don't care if you end up crying or you end up angry or whatever it is. You just make dua. What if you approach your relationship with Allah in that way? The thing about this kind of approach, what's so beautiful about it, is one, it specifically allows us to operate off of our human conditioning. Human beings, we were made to connect with one another. We quite literally, we have brain cells, neurons in our brain called mirror neurons. These neurons are they are meant to, when we see someone else doing something that's similar, that is kind of similar in our nature, we'll start to almost mimic it in a sense, and it's supposed to create a connection. It is part of the human bonding experience. When we're treating our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that way, we're creating this intimacy, we're creating this connection, and we are allowing ourselves to really settle into our human conditioning. That allows the relationship with Allah to be much deeper. When your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much deeper, it is easier to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God consciousness, knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering His presence. It is easier to operate with ihsan, ihsan being Islamic, kind of the Arabic word for excellence, right? The hadith about ihsan goes that, ihsan is that you go about your day as if you see Allah, but know that even though you cannot see Him, He sees you, right? That is ihsan. It lets you feel comfortable going to Allah during the good times and the bad times without a hesitation, without feeling, like there's something getting in the way. When we formalize our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what we do is we put our faith in a box. We tell ourselves essentially, well, I can't worship, I can't make dua, or unless I'm in these specific environments, unless I'm in these specific circumstances, unless I'm in a mosque, or I'm in the corner of my house where I pray, or I'm specifically in sujood, or I can't go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless I have everything put together and I know exactly what I want to say. That's not supposed to be there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-basir and as-sami', right? He's the all-seeing, the all-hearing, meaning He is seeing you no matter where you're at, and He is hearing you no matter where you're at. So that opportunity for the connection with Allah is anytime, anywhere, literally. And it's a beautiful thing about Islam, because not all religions have this belief that you have an uninhibited opportunity to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to speak to God. Other religions, you have to go through a process, you have to go through a person, you have to go find someone who's enlightened, or someone, who's with the church or whatever it is, to be able to have that connection. We don't have that. You don't have to go to anyone for anything. You have that direct connection with Allah. Your dua, the word dua comes from the word that means to call out. You are calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as He is the one who is always listening, He hears you. So it's time for us to bring back the intimacy into our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we have that intimacy too, the thing about it is that there's a little bit of a mindset shift that happens with it. So you should find it easier to start doing things out of greater worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that relationship is one, you have strong, intimate relationships with people that you love. And if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like how if you love someone in your life, you're going to want to please them. You want to see them happy. You want to serve them the same way you're going to want to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that means that you are going to be doing yourself a service, because our deeds and our service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't benefit Him in any way. He's Malik al-Mulk. He is the master of the dominion. Nothing that we do can take from His dominion. Nothing we do can add to it. What we are doing is out of shukr, it's out of appreciation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings He's given us in our life. And no matter how horrible of a life you've had, no matter how much you're struggling, and trust me, I've seen struggle. If you've seen other videos of mine, if you follow me on TikTok, you kind of know my story. I've been through it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I was very conscious of the blessings that I had in my life, very much so. I knew that, just my ability to be safe in walking out of my house, the fact that I'm completely bodily able, the fact that I don't have to wear glasses, I can see perfectly. Those are all huge blessings that you can't replace, you can't enumerate, right? Our service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not decreasing Him in anything. It is not increasing Him in anything. It is for us to present our gratitude to Allah and build this beautiful relationship, because when we have that relationship, we're able to navigate this world with a higher level of spiritual and mental intelligence, and that makes life easier, and that helps us to get through the hard times that are inevitably gonna come, and help us to really enjoy the good times. I'll end with this here, which is a beautiful hadith that I always find myself going back to, where the Prophet ﷺ said, how strange is the affair of the believer when like forgive me for not knowing the exact wording. This is a rough translation, but when something good happens to him, he is grateful, right? And when he's tested or when he faces trial, he's grateful, and that is good for him. But when he is tested and he faces trial, he is patient, and that is good for him. How strange. And this is not in the case of anyone but a believer. We are, in my last video, if you watched it, you should watch it. It's a really good video. I spoke about God-conscious self-improvement. And the one thing I said about God-conscious self-improvement that differs from modern self-improvement that we're seeing all around is that God-conscious self-improvement sees you to the end. This hadith demonstrates that, right? It's not just there for you during the good times when you can show off your fancy cars and your money and, you know, you can buy people dinner and blah, blah, blah. It is there through the hard times in life and the good times. It is there when you are on top of the world and when you have hit rock bottom. That is God-conscious self-improvement. Guys, if you like this video, then please like it. It takes you less than a second. It takes you less time than it took to play this video. And subscribe for more content. I'm trying to, you know, just really give you guys things that are going to boost your God-conscious self-improvement journeys. Go to the description and sign up for my 2-minute newsletter. Only 2 minutes of content, but it's awesome content. And you will get 2 free ebooks, one on how to heal trauma and one on my starter pack to God-conscious self-improvement. They're really, really good, guys. I'm not just boosting my ego. I really worked hard on them, and I'm very proud of the content that's there. I also do one-on-one self-improvement coaching, and I have a trauma group coaching program as well. So all that can be found in the description below. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.